Hey everyone, I got my Rivian here, and this is the ranch where we run our cattle year-round, a holistic ranch focused on soil health based on our management. I've had this Rivian for over 15 months now, put 24,000 miles on it, and just wanted to share a few tips because it's actually getting repurchased by Rivian because of some incidents that I've had. They've been very good to work with on that front, so I'm super grateful for Rivian's customer service and how they've worked with me. But I thought it'd be worth just sharing 24,000 miles. What have I learned? What's good? What's bad? What could use some work? So hopefully you find it beneficial. First thing I'll just say is that this truck has been a work truck for me. I know it can be an adventure vehicle, but it gets a little dirty. It's handled it all right. This is always having, all sorts of coolers in it for me. I got some manure in here for some education stuff. A little pickleball. I'm doing all sorts of things. The tonneau cover got jacked over a year ago, like many other people. After you work and use your truck long enough, you start to see the damage on your truck bed, which is fine. I've put a lot of different things in here and you start to see things rubbed up. I've loved having these hooks for tie downs. It's worked out really well. This extended platform works well when you need to tie something extra down. This flap is okay, but it does collect a lot of dirt. Especially in the winter time. It's kind of brutal with snow getting stuck in here, and then this can't lift up all the way, so then you can't close your tailgate. So that's been a little tricky for me. I've loved using the air pressure gauge here for repumping my own tires or tires of someone else. Definitely been able to do that. You got the power outlet here. In our context, we brand cattle and we use some shears to shave it off and then do a little freeze brand. And so it's been nice to have the truck right next to where we're working the cattle. It can just be plugged in, so that's handy. Things like that. What else in this truck bed? I know there's spare tire space in here and towing equipment underneath all of this. I never really found this whole system of like popping it up super easy and convenient, especially when I got crap in the back of my truck bed all the time. And then also I just feel like it was always hard to get it to close again, but it is extra storage. I never had the spare tire in there, but it could be a good thing. I just put the cover back on, but I did have a tow hitch on here. The comment I wanted to make about the tow hitch from a trucking perspective or a ranching perspective is that this camera is so low that you have a trailer ball out here. And when you have a trailer ball out here and the perspective is really hard to be able to get the trailer hitch right over the ball. A lot of other trucks have the camera up high, and that allows you to have a better down angle, and that can make a real big difference. So I would like to see a camera higher up in the future in terms of trailering needs. I think that'd be helpful. I did want to point out though that on this new screen, I was towing a trailer yesterday, and they had this new screen, which was a sweet upgrade because I always felt like they had a hacky solution that when you said you were towing something, they would just automatically cut your range in half. And this is a better measurement now. Based on it can estimate how much trailer weight you're towing, probably based on the extra energy required to get you to go to a certain speed. And it will tell you your tow efficiency. I had a big load and then it went light again, so the trailer did weigh about 1,000 pounds. So unless you have a plug in there, it's kind of hard for it to know that there's a trailer event happening. But super happy to see this upgraded screen because that wasn't always there. But like I said, when you go to reverse, the perspective is pretty warped, so it's a little hard to get a good first angle of the hitch on the ball. Super stoked that you can double tap this now though. And get a view of the truck bed, because that's something that I care about, making sure all my stuff's secure, nothing's flapping away. So good upgrade there. Unfortunately, I know that these can be used to tow because I had to get towed 4 different times out of a field, in my pasture, on the side of the road, in my garage, and then at the top of my driveway. 4 different areas I got to get towed out of. I can tell a little bit more about that essentially, but all sort of drive unit or parking brake related. Other things just about the truck that I've enjoyed. Because I'm returning this, I already pulled stuff out, but I should have shown you. I loved this gear tunnel so much. The ability to have locked, stored, dried space for my equipment was fantastic. The two things I put in here in particular were a giant bag of just Ryobi power tools, all sorts of different tools that I could easily pull out, and then I just sit the bag right here and I could just grab what I needed to, slide it back in, or just leave it open. Super handy that way, so loved having the gear tunnel for that. I also always end up getting really stinky boots, just manure. They get wet inside. My wife always complains how stinky my boots are. So I can either throw them in the truck bed, but that's like semi-secure, or if it's raining, since I don't have a tonneau cover, I can put my boots in there. And so it's a nice extra piece of storage as well. Love the access. And the front storage is great as well. Honestly, I use that a ton. I think it worked really well. I don't feel like the alignment on this hood is fantastic. I feel like having just one hook to secure it wasn't enough. I feel like when you go down, I feel like this side always looked a little off. And so I feel like in the wind, this side would rattle a little bit more than this side, looking a little more flush. Don't know if you can see that on a quick view. Anyway, I stopped relying on the button for closing. So it opens, but then usually what happens is when I close it, it doesn't, it's like, no, we can't, no can do. So there's something with the sensors, it just feels off. They've tried to align it before, but that doesn't really seem to work out very well. I feel like racks are interesting. I always want one, and then with a truck, I'm throwing so much stuff in the back that I never actually really used the rack. And I feel like it created a lot of wind whistling. I also just don't feel like the seal on the windows were necessarily the best. And so when I'm driving at high speeds, I always felt like I was hearing the wind kind of coming somewhere in this zone and up here. And so it always felt a little loud, louder than I would expect, but it's a lot of glass. You've probably heard about this before, but in the summer especially, this glass just gets way too hot. Especially I'm 6'6", so I'm tall, my head is closer to this. It just feels like even with the AC blowing, cooling seats going on, I am getting heated by this glass. And so there really needs to be a better solution for how to cover this, either aftermarket, but I would have thought that Rivian would have had maybe a better solution on that, like a lot of cars with the blinds that go across or something. But you know, it's nice to have that light. I'm tall, I'm wearing a hat all the time, so I'm not like driving being like, oh, look at the view above me, but I get the aesthetic and that it's more light in here. I think sunroofs, moonroofs, whatever, are more for the back passengers, frankly, than it is for the driver. But you know, that my big feedback is it gets too hot. As you can imagine, I'm ranching. I've always got stuff on my feet, so I strongly recommend the all-weather mats. I have used them aggressively. And I mean, look, I'm ranching. This is a bougie truck. Pretty fancy for just trying to ranch. And so, you know, cooling seats, heated seats, that's some pretty fancy stuff. Would I have downgraded? Potentially. You know, like the Lightning has like the pro model, it's the contractor model, like vinyl flooring, and I'm like, that sounds good because I've got manure on my boots all the time. It'd be a lot easier to clean out, frankly. So I'd like to see maybe a little bit of that variation in Rivian over time, is just the packages to be able to, but you know, Rivian's trying to be a premium product, and so I know why they haven't necessarily started there. At least maybe you'll see something like that in the future. I always tell people that this drives more like a Tacoma and a small truck than it feels like an F-150. It feels very different than when you're driving a Lightning. I feel that the most in two places. One, backseat room, both for storage and just especially for passengers, and then truck bed space for sure. The truck bed space feels significantly more because it's wider, because the wheel wells are exposed on the truck, on the F-150, on the Lightning, and it's longer. You know, the Rivian truck bed is one of the shortest in industry, and so you're a little compromised in terms of how easily it is to store things. But I never really felt like, even with like an 8-foot plywood board, or long 10-foot boards. I just had them angled out the side, and I felt like it was fine. So not a huge issue at some level. It just doesn't feel like a full truck. That's super beneficial though when I'm trying to park or turn in small spaces. So I've enjoyed the versatility of this size of truck, honestly. People ask me, well, what are you going to get next? And I honestly don't know, because this is a hard truck to replace for me. I was driving 40 miles each direction from my house in Salt Lake City up to Oakley, and we have a 15 kilowatt system at home for generating power, doing net metering over a year period of time, so we can produce a surplus of power in the summer, and we draw on that surplus of power to energize the truck. So I felt like we had free gas a little bit for this vehicle. So I'd like an electric vehicle, but I go to the farmers markets all the time. I'm taking this thing, I'm pulling trailers, I'm pulling 3,000-pound structures with chickens in them. And so I don't have something that can solve that. A Ford Lightning would be good, but I have a 4th child coming, so I need 6 seats. So the Rivian would stop solving some family issues for me anyway. So my latest solution is probably to do a Prius V, because it's got a hatchback and more storage, and then having potentially like an older bench truck like an F-250 or something that I can use on the days when I need it. So that's a little bit of the plan there. Been a fancy little truck though. My kids have sure enjoyed being in the back. Infotainment storage. We didn't really solve infotainment for our kids very well, but I'm sure you could have done like a suction cup or something like that for the kiddos. We didn't feel the need to do that. I think we ended up just sending an iPad here once in a while if they wanted to watch something, or having it on a laptop. I'm not a huge fan of the air conditioning system, the climate control, where you kind of have to do this. I'm just an old school physical guy, so I just see this as something that's gonna break, and so I don't really want that. But you know, it's fine. I think one thing that's missing is the ability for a passenger to easily just turn down the volume. Like, even just to like mute it, you're like, and then you gotta like slide it. I just don't feel like, I feel like this, you know, changing the volume here is fine on my steering wheel, but for a side passenger, I always thought that was just a little too digital. I actually think what the Lightning has done, where it's a contextual knob and it changes based on whether it's music volume or temperature, it looks a little funky, but it actually has pretty good function. So I don't mind what Ford has done with their big display on the Lightning in their newer truck. Something that you don't use very often, but I didn't, but you know, when we were doing chicken processing days, I would pull this speaker out. I don't feel like it was always the easiest to connect to the speaker, or I thought you could charge with the speaker, but I don't really feel like I ever figured that out. You know, there was also the kind of cutesy thing of having this flashlight right here. I didn't use it a ton, but a few times camping, and then a few times just when like my garage had its lights out and it was dark. This thing is a bright light, and so the flashlight's pretty slick on it, and so it actually does have a decent purpose. And yeah, I'm not mad about it. You know, it worked out. Glad to have the air pressure kit that comes with this. I've used that a few times. They have a lot of good adapters that comes in the kit, which was a relief, because I thought I was going to be stuck, and the adapters were all there to kind of do what I needed to do. Don't get the 21-inch tires. I was really disappointed when I found out a couple things about the tires. One, the 21-inch tire is the only tire you can get right now. I wanted to go back to an all-terrain. I bought the 21-inch tire because that was the one that would help me get the truck the fastest. And I really wish I had the all-terrain for driving in the snow as much as I do. But that's on a 20-inch. And I didn't want to pay $2,500 to $3,500 for more wheels. And you know, these tires cost about $2,000 to replace. I replaced them once at 12,000 miles because I drive in conserve mode a lot. I didn't realize, but it makes sense that conserve mode eats up tires a hell of a lot faster, because it's putting all of that energy just to 2 drive units, and so it's just tearing up those tires faster. That's my understanding of it. So yeah, the tire situation could be a little better. I really wish they had more options on the 21-inch wheel, but whatever. I think I'll tell you just a little bit about the breakdown scenario. So every incident that I had, the 4 times I had to get towed with this truck, it was a variation on a theme of not being able to drive anymore. You get an alert that says some variation of service, park, brake immediately, pull over and secure vehicle. Some variation of that messaging. The first time I had it repaired, they said it was the drive motor for one of the back wheels, for the back drive unit. And then the next time it was the braking system. And then the last 2 times it was related to braking as well. It got to the point where I was explaining to customer support, what was going to happen next, because I knew it exactly was going to happen. I knew that when I parked, I'd no longer be able to unpark. It would actually not be in park, it'd be more like in neutral. And so I would have to secure the wheels to make sure it wasn't driving away or rolling away. And the battery was slowly just draining too. I don't think I could actually turn the vehicle off. Oh, I could turn the vehicle off if I walked away, yeah. But it was super frustrating that you thought you were driving a fine vehicle, and then in the matter of 10 minutes, you were stuck on the side of the road. Now, I'll say this again, Rivian's customer support was fantastic. And I kept telling them on the phone, like, I hate that your guys' customer support is so good because something can happen so bad. In most cars, I feel like you get a check engine light or something subtle. Maybe human behavior is a little bad and we feel like we can just ignore it. Well, I mean, I literally, once I see the alert on my truck, the next time I park it, I maybe get one more opportunity to drive it again before it's SOL and I'm stuck. So wherever I'm stuck. One time I was hosting 100 people at the ranch for an evening event. I was trying to get up there early with my partner. I saw the alert come up on my truck and I said, we have to go straight to the ranch because when I park this vehicle, I will not be able to move it again. And sure enough, when I got there, it wouldn't move again. I actually ordered a tow truck in advance because I knew that was going to happen. I asked them to get a tow truck already scheduled because I knew it was going to happen. So what happens when you get stuck? Well, you talk to Rivian. They'll immediately try to get you scheduled with a tow vehicle. They'll get you $150 or so in credits with Lyft or Uber so you can get where you need to go. A couple of times I rode down with the tow truck company. I'm about 45 minutes away from my home. And yeah, and then I got a rental. I think I put 45 days of rental onto enterprise rental car over a 3 to 4 month period. This was not a lemon law activity for me because in the state of Utah, I had to have the vehicle in the shop for more than 30 days in the first year of its life, and it was only in the shop for 27 days. So I just missed it. But 3 weeks later, it was in the shop for 15 days. And so I reached out to Rivian and I said, hey, look, I'm not trying to be litigious. I'm not trying to like sue you for all you're worth. I'm just telling you that I no longer have trust in my specific vehicle because you have not been able to, I don't feel confident that you have actually solved the problem with my vehicle. And so I don't feel comfortable driving it long distances with my family. I don't feel confident selling this to someone else without passing on the problem to them. So either I'm kind of lying and selling them a problem, or I'm gonna have to sell it cheaper because of warranty issues that were happening from Rivian. Rivian said, we'll take it to our internal review team. And 3 weeks later, they got back to me and they said they would buy it back for the full price. Now, I can't say anything about other people's experience. I'm sure there's a variety of experiences. But the fact that they're willing to pay back for the whole cost of the vehicle after I put 24,000 miles on it says a lot about a few things. Probably one, they don't want bad PR. Two, they really are trying to learn and take care of their customers. I assume that at 24,000, almost 25,000 miles, I'm on the higher end of usage of the truck. And so they're still collecting a lot of data regarding that. So, you know, we're still in the learning curve. I worked in software for 10 years and your first shipment is never going to be perfect. And unfortunately, that's the same way with trucks, even though they did all this testing. So as much as we did what we could, as they did what they could for me, I think this is somewhat of just a bad truck, or they just have a systemic issue going on with the drive unit and the braking system. I don't people ask me, should I buy this vehicle? I actually would recommend other people to buy it again. Why don't I just trade it in for a truck? Well, opportunistically, since I'm having a fourth child, it makes sense to maybe reconsider if I've got a $900 a month payment on a truck, reviewing my financial situation. But I'd love to keep the Rivian. Like, in a lot of ways I would. I just don't have the confidence anymore in it, and I appreciate Rivian willing to work with me on getting it replaced. So that's a little bit of my love story or sad story with the Rivian. I still think that there's a lot of opportunity for Rivian to keep growing, expanding in the industry. I think they're trying to do the right things for customers, trying to do the right thing for the planet. Just got to remember that electric trucks are not the most energy efficient, electric efficient vehicles out there. You're going to be much better with a smaller vehicle if you're just trying to commute. But if you do need a work truck and you want to do something electric, I would recommend trying Rivian. I think they're learning every batch of production of trucks, and every year they go on, they're learning a ton and they're iterating a lot, and I really appreciate that in their design system. So that is the story. I hope you guys have a great day. These are our beautiful cattle. Having a great day as well. Be good. Eat healthy. Drive safe, be safe. Thanks, Rivian, for the last 24,000 miles in 15 months. I have learned a lot. I've been able to do what I do in trying to heal the land with regenerative agriculture, with cattle and chickens, because of this truck, no doubt. And it's allowed me to get here more efficiently and safely. So for that, I do say thank you. If you have other questions, feel free to post in comments. We can have a conversation. I'm sure there's some things I missed, but au revoir, truck. Thank you for all your time.